Greetings, everybody. Anybody ever been sucker fishing? Good question, right? While living in the upper Midwest, northern Wisconsin, Wisconsin is in one of the native languages, I can't recall, that means the gathering place of the waters. Well, that's a for real because, Mississippi is up there, the Wisconsin River, Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, on and on. And so many lakes and creeks and brooks and springs and rivers. Well, yeah, I used to spend a lot of time fishing. While I lived there, it was a wonderful place to do that. And every year, prior to the game fishing season opening in May, when we might go out after a walleye or a bass or something else, prior to that, the ice would come out and we would have a rough fish season, otherwise known as the black or red horse American suckers. And sometime in April the ice would come off the rivers, and so get my tackle in shape, get the old cast and arm, worked out. I'd get my stuff out and go on out after suckers as they ran in spring. And sometimes you'd swear that they were so thick in the rivers that just like Alaskan salmon, you could walk across the backs of them to cross the water. They were thick, a lot of them. And the state didn't really care, for the most part, what methods you used to retrieve your suckers. Fish poison and explosives were not permitted. Okay, but spears, bows and arrows, nets, fishing poles. I used fishing poles on them. I had tried bows in Illinois on carp, and I'm not very good at it. Anyway, yeah. So we go out after them, and it's possible to just literally fill bushel baskets with these things. Good-sized suckers. That's a pretty big fish. The main reason that nobody makes big news out of these fish is because, like the carp, they have fan bones through the meat that are impossible to fillet out. You really can't. So that makes them sort of inedible. Now, the meat is good. Yeah, a sucker tastes fine. Just like a McDonald's fish witch. Yeah, but you can't get the bones out. So a lot of the local people had discovered that if you will take the suckers and put them in a pressure cooker in a canning jar like canning salmon, bones dissolve. You can make fish burgers out of them. Others had realized that by pickling them like pickled herring, the vinegar softens the bones, no problem. So they're quite useful for those two recipes. For a third, they're also useful for fertilizer, and I admit I have used them for such in my corn. Well, the old Native American story about putting a fish and then planting the corn seed, right? Yeah. Well, suckers are, I tend to think that most fish are actually probably a little more intelligent than I have given them credit for, but you throw a fat worm in front of a sucker and wow, he's gone. That's it. It's over for him. Well, I see the same kind of thing sort of happens with people too. I do believe it was P.T. Barnum that said, never give a sucker an even break. I'm sure W.C. Fields had a couple expressions similar too. But it goes on yet today, that you have all of these fishing scams have been going on and so on. Lately there seems to be even more and more and more of it. I found that I had a couple of people that had associated with me who actually got sucked into this stuff. Yeah. The one lost short of a couple of $100,000. The other one lost over a couple of $100,000. Yeah, I'm not gonna make a point of who and what they might, who they might be. I don't want to, belittle them over this, but I'll tell you, I myself do not have the complete stories from either one of them. The main reason is I had started talking to one about it, and it had been some kind of a Bitcoin scam, and I think it was telephone oriented. But anyway, when I asked him, how could you have done that? Wow. It was like, he looks at me like, oh, you'd have fallen for this too. I'm going, I don't think so. Yeah. The other one there, I think it was email based, and I think it had to do with cards. It had to do with cards, either a bank or a credit. I don't know. Well, I can tell you right off, man. After the talk to the first guy, I didn't talk to the second guy. The reason why? Because I'm just gonna sit there and go, what is wrong with you? That you could be that dumb, you sucker. Yeah, so I don't want to do that to people. And so I don't ask. So I have no details. I know that if you need help with this, there is so much information out there today. I mean, Social Security sends me stuff. Medicare sends me stuff. My bank sends me stuff about frauds. My investment firm, same thing. Yeah, I get this stuff all the time. By changing passwords, not giving out personal information, blah blah blah. Smart stuff. It's out there. If you need to know this stuff, and I got a feeling there's a lot of people that do. I have compassion, I guess, for all people who would fall for this. The worm looked like food in the river, I guess, but I probably, my heart goes up the most, really, to elderly people who perhaps have some sort of, cognitive dissonance going on there. Maybe they're developing a dementia or something on this, and so they can be, these guys who pull this stuff, they know, they know, though, and the elderly are really the ones to pray. But in this case, at least one of them, he wasn't too old. What surprises me is that I have been scammed. Yes, I have been scammed. Mostly when I was younger. I trusted people. My first mistake. I've been scammed. Certainly I was scammed, by people who I thought loved me. Okay. I thought for sure that you think that people around you probably have your best interests at heart. You like to think that way, the ones that are close to you. In my case, it turns out, like B.B. King said, my mama says she loved me, but she could have been jiving too. I get scammed for the heart. I feel sorry for people who get into these romance scams online and then get bilked, because, the heart's, it's a soft spot, man. We all got that. We can lose all of our smarts when we start to fall in love. Yeah, I'll know that. So, boy, that's ugly. But most of this stuff, it's not that complicated. People get in an email, and it claims, the title says, oh, it's their bank. But if you float over the email address, you see, it's juicylucy@yahoo.com or something like this. It's not your bank. I get stuff with Ellen's name on it all the time. Float the email. Not Ellen, I didn't even open it. As far as the stuff that poses to be your institutions, man, market scam. You know, there's a spam filter, mark it spam, so you don't keep getting that particular one all over again. Um, you know what? I get stuff on the telephone all the time over here too. It almost always comes from Washington. That's the state. I don't know what they're doing with the phone numbers up there, but they're continuously using Washington phone numbers and calling me ordinarily at, you know, absurd times too in the morning, really early. Also, you know, my usual response with them is, you know, they'll ask me for some bogus person or something, and well, sometimes I will just, you know, deliver every four-letter word in the book at them. Other times, I will suggest that they actually get a real job. Like, I understand that there's openings for prostitutes in San Francisco. You'll probably make more money, and it's more honorable. You know, that usually gets them to hang up. That'll shut them down. Other times, they like to call and they ask for Luis. And more than once, when they called and asked for Luis, I just break out in hysteria, start laughing madly, and go, "Oh yeah, Luis, I just killed him with a butcher knife. If you care, why don't you call 911?" Hang up the phone. I've never been swatted from 911 because of that, so I take it they don't care whether I stab Luis or not. You know, I have fun with them, you know. But they're so easy. Because now, if this is your bank, or if this is your credit card company, I have had a call from my credit card company some time back. Yeah, I was purchasing mushroom spawn internet in Wisconsin, and some clown over there took my card number and went out to McDonald's. This is not a very smart person, okay, because the crime is the crime, man. You get caught at it. Hey, I got a cheeseburger and a shake. You know, wow. I'm spending 5 years in prison. Yeah, you may as well have gone out and bought yourself a boat. But, yeah, I got a call from the credit card company on it. They said, "This doesn't seem right." I said, "Yeah, you're right. It's not right." And so they said, "Good." And what's the first thing they do? They cancel my card, they cancel my account, and they tell me, "Look, I'm going to send you a brand new one." You don't need to give them anything. If they asked for anything at all, it might be that, you know, personal ID question like, "What was the name of your first pet?" Well, they're going to know the question to ask you, and when you get it right, they're going to know was the right answer, and so on. You know, you want to find out whether it's really your bank, give them the wrong answer, see what happens to you. Yeah, the scammer is going to agree with anything, the bank won't. But, yeah, I just recall just that one, and again, they knew everything about me. I didn't have to tell them the social security numbers, blah, 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 nothing. And they said, "Okay, Mr. Merrill, we're going to send you a brand new card." Right there. That's what happens anytime that any institution you're involved with that, you know, you have a card of some sort. That's how it's going to work. And anytime they tell you, "Oh, you better give me this or that number," and "Oh, what was this and that," and "Oh, it's going to cost you," and you got to pay in like Bitcoin or something freaky weird. You know, they do this with the utilities here too. This utility company called us here. "I'm going to shut off your power if you don't pay me in Bitcoin." Doesn't work that way, all right? Your power company or your phone company, in most cases here, you're going to get a couple of letters first. They're going to tell you, "Hey, you missed your bill." They might even say, "Hey, you missed your bill again." "Hey, if you don't pay up your bill, we're going to maybe come on out and disconnect." And yeah, this is going to be a process. And they're not going to want Bitcoin, okay? Yeah, they're just going to want you to pay your bill. And they're going to know exactly how much you owe them, too. I don't understand it. I really don't. It's sucker fishing, and man, there are a lot of suckers. I'm not the only one that seems to be seeing a decline intellectual capacity that people seem like they're kind of getting um, dumber all the time. And so the scammers know this. I don't know if it's AI causing it, social media causing it, whatever's causing it, but you know, like I said, one of the things is you like to try to trust the people around you and so on, but I'll tell you what, today, especially with artificial intelligence, don't believe anything. Everything's suspect. It's all suspect. And if you don't approach it that way, well, you're going to end up like a couple of suckers I knew out there in the river stream that got yanked in for a lot of money. Hey, Gracie didn't want to get up. I was sleeping on the chair there. So, toss the blankets over. Hang loose, folks. Aloha. Don't